So anyway, good morning, people. Excuse it's so dark out here today and just raining like crazy. So anyway, we were just discussing um, about Andrew Cohen. Finally, just put out a letter on Rick Ross' site. Was it you said that it was there?
They referenced it there.
Oh, they referenced it there.
Yeah,
Oh, he's wet. It looked like a drowned rat, my little guy. That's okay, honey.
From his organization, he put out a letter, and they put out that letter.
Oh, from his organization, they released a letter that Andrew Cohen is apologizing to his students.
Yes.
And stepping down. It's about time.
Right.
Like I said, from the beginning, he's got nothing. What he was giving was not beneficial. Don't think I know him. I run into him, many times and his students up in Rishikesh when I lived there. And it was just absolute crap. Nonsense. I've said that for years.
Right.
So I'm glad that he's finally stepping down and acknowledging that. Even his mother denounced him, for God's sakes, because he was really on a ego trip with it.
Right.
Now again, I'm going to reiterate, Gangaji, on the other hand, does have something that can benefit people. I have said that all along. If you sit, she says to sit with the emotions, and you have to sit with this, it can benefit people. I've said that for how many years? Since the beginning, since the last 15 years I've said this. Very openly. So again, yeah, I watched his videos, I've seen him, I've seen his students, like I said, in close encounters up in Rishikesh, and it was extremely, extremely egotistical. And everything that he was doing was based on ego. It was not based on non-duality. It was not any teachings that would get anyone to non-duality. Absolutely not. But again, I want to reiterate, I don't even know if Gangaji is still out there. What's happening with it, I haven't seen anything for some time. But really, her methodology with sitting with things, really can aid and benefit. She really does have something to give. So, this idea that I say, oh, there's nobody out there and I'm the only one, and absolute nonsense. I've never said that. Genuine gurus that can give are few and far between. But they are out there. I said they have to exist. There has to be also other Kundalini gurus that are genuine and have something to give. I would like to find them.
Right.
I would like to be able to, advise people that there's a guru here and it's closer to where you're at and you can go there. Now again, we've been in India. How much time was spent in India? I was there for 5 years. I looked intensely, and we've had ones from the south come up. Oh my God, that was supposed to be a completed master.
It was atrocious.
It was horrid. It was horrid. I've seen a number of them that are not completed. They keep running to the cities and this and that, and look what I can do and look what I've done, and all this drama, but they are not completed. I've seen ones there. There's one there that's very popular, a woman, and my mouth hangs open. She wants to try to awaken thousands at a time, and that's just absolutely egregious. I can't imagine doing something like that, because you have to know the ins and outs of Kundalini, what it does, what it doesn't do, because you can get yourself in a lot of trouble otherwise. I mean, people can go crazy. There are a lot of warnings about it in the texts for good reason, because you have to know what you are doing in order to navigate it, because what it does, Kundalini, awakens and it goes through all the subconscious and it brings up all the fears and all the drama and all that stuff to be looked at. All the unproductive things you are going to encounter. Okay, no way around it. It's going to bring it up in so many different ways, on so many different levels. And also, you know, another thing that you see out there, that which is absolutely egregious, is for them to continue to do third eye meditations with that. Because what do you get? You get out in the astral realms, you get all of this bogus crap, which is the long, long way around, and you can, again, get yourself in a lot of trouble. Okay, if you like a lot of creative movies and shows and, you know, drama, go for it, you know, but I mean, you'll spend lifetimes that way. It's the long, 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 long way around. You know? So again, you see so much misinformation, you know, all the different chakras, and you got to concentrate on this one and concentrate on that one and do this and do that, and this light and this pedal and that pedal, and, you know, all this other drama, which is really, again, the long, long, long way around. And those things do not hold water in the end. You know, unfortunately, you get a lot of people that have read some books, then they want to spin it and put their own spin on it, but they haven't had the experience, they haven't walked the journey. So you get a lot of misinformation out there. And that's what most authors do. I spoke with a guy also that's an author, of course, in India, and that's what he does. And wants to act like he's an authority on the subject. And he just gathers a bunch of books from a bunch of different people, so spins it together and throws something out. And it's, again, it's like playing telephone game. You start one simple sentence, by the time it gets to the end of the line, it doesn't bear any resemblance to the beginning. You can't even keep that straight, for God's sakes. And how are people going to advise people and write books as an authority? And all they do, they know about it, but they don't know it. There's a big difference in knowing about something versus really walking the journey. You can know about, you know, flying around the world in a one-plane thing, and it's sure as heck not the same as actually doing it and facing the consequences and going through it, you know. So again, so much misinformation out there about Kundalini, so much misinformation out there about Tantra, so much misinformation on so many things. I mean, even the subject's been around for, you know, again, like Christianity. You read, you know, if you really read and study the Bible and you look into the depth of it, there's a lot of really excellent, excellent information there, but it gets so spun, taken out of context and spun, that you doesn't bear any resemblance to what the original things were pointing in the direction of. You know? So again, you know, there are genuine teachers out there. I think most of the genuine teachers are not out there doing a lot of self-promotion, campaigns, world tours, etc. They're going to be more in the background with very few students that are working more, you know, to give what they can give. They're not interested, just like, you know, here, I haven't been interested in the popularity. I had that choice. When I was in India, you were there, I think, during that time, up in Siliguri, where the guy came from Mumbai. He worked for the newspapers in Mumbai, wanted to promote me like crazy, to do a tour, etc., etc., etc. And immediately I saw that he was in it for the money. I found this guru, you know, all this thing, and, you know, I could see the writing on the wall. That was not my journey. It was not about name, fame. It was not about money. It was not about any of this nonsense. No matter how much people like, these ridiculous Sarlos or Guru Philiac or Rick Ross and all this drama want to think that it is and want to project that it is. If it were, I would be out there doing tours. I'd be selling courses. I'd be doing all this bullshit, which none of it has taken place in 15 years.
And there's about 25 students here after all this time.
Yeah, now there's about 25 students. It is not popular when you are giving truth, when you are giving a very difficult path to walk that requires that you do the journey yourself without having a bunch of belief systems and party time. So again, there are genuine paths out there. There's genuine Christianity, and then there's fake. Like anything, there's genuine Buddhism, and then there's fakes. There's genuine Hinduism, then there's fakes. Okay? But one has to have enough wherewithal to be able to tell the counterfeit from the genuine. Just because it's sparkly doesn't mean that it's genuine. You can have a cubic, looks great on the surface, cubic zirconia, looks like a diamond, but it's worthless. But so many people, all they want to do is see the outside thing. They don't want to look if it's genuine, if it's not.
They don't know what to look for.
Well, that's it too. A lot of times they don't know what to look for. They don't know how to look. And they want to come in, you get students come in, I want to test the guru. But you can't test me. You can't test me, you can't look at me. And there's ways to test gurus and there's ways not. And again, part of the problem is because there's so much of information out there in so many avenues, so many books, so many videos, so much, drama, that people have their heads filled with a bunch of fantasy. And they want to take the fantasy notion and run with it. And they are not going to hear you for Adam. Like the one girl, remember that one girl came and she wanted to go to India because women are on pedestals there. They're worshipped. Really? Apparently, again, and no matter how much you tell her that's not the truth of it, she's not going to hear a damn word of it. The truth is, when the husband dies and she becomes a widow, many times they throw her out. If they have a daughter instead of the son, she gets the blame. There are daily miraculous kitchen fires that happen because she didn't give enough dowry. Really? They're on pedestals, they're worshipped. There are so many abuses against women in India. Rape is becoming more and more common, egregious, horrid rape, and they are doing very little to catch the culprits. Now it's gang rapes. It's not safe there for women. And of course, we have the person that comes here, oh, they're worshipped, and it's just fantasy. Fantasy. And again, people have these fantasy notions. They've read, what's the one that was so, was it Yogananda? Was it Yogananda? The one that so many people read first.
Autobiography of a Yogi.
Autobiography of a Yogi.
Yeah, I read it.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's introduction, is Autobiography of a Yogi. And he came, his guru was very tough. Yukteswar was his guru. Yukteswar didn't mince words. He was very tough. Now, when Yogananda came, he wanted to get in with the churches. So he taught it like, on par with what Christ was doing. And he wanted to teach it like the Christian churches and that type of a thing, and very soft and very this and that. more into oneness and that type of thing. Love, 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 love.
More for the masses.
More for the masses.
Well,
It was for the masses, exactly.
Yeah.
It was for the masses. It was very watered down for the masses. I would say it's more like an introductory type of a thing rather than a full-on, full-on thing. But that's people's introductions. That's what they read, and that's the spin that every guru that's genuine has to be like that. Love, 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 love. So people have a false notion. It's like people saw the movie, the one about the Tibetans. What was it, Lost Horizon or something like that, I think it was called, about in Tibet, and it's all very sacred and nobody can get there, and it's Shangri-La, and and so they have the mystery because the Lama is something different. Oh my God, they're mystical and magical. They don't know the genuine ins and outs of Tibetan Buddhism. They have, again, two different types of school. One of it is all intellectual, and that's the ones that most people run into. It very intellectualized everything. It's not based on the deeper practices. It takes them years and years and years of these preliminary practices before they get to anything in depth. Then you get the ones that are really getting the depth they don't see. They're the yogis, the ones that are in the mountains, in the caves, that are actually sitting there daily doing these practice. They say, but oh no, it is practice. They go for 3 years, 3 months, 3 days. Well, okay, that's decent. They do have some that will go for 3 years, 3 months, 3 days. And sit, and if they do that, it can be beneficial if they have the right direction and guidance, and they're not just sitting there spinning on their, collected stuff. But what I've seen with many of them, they're given things and they just keep by rote repeating it, and they're the progress then is
The body's just older, but the wisdom hasn't been
Nothing-
the
nothing
wisdom,
moving
right?
forward.
It hasn't been there. Or then you see these bogus movies, like the one they have out on Kundalini with the Tibetans. We're the only ones that have it. When we go, it will be lost. Nonsense. Nonsense. And they want to try to say, oh, well, the Indian yogis, all they want to do is do the exercise, and they want to do a show, but we have the real knowledge. No, the Indians brought it to Nepal, brought it to Tibet. So if they think that it's going to be lost, crazy. Same thing, in the Bible it talks about, Holy Spirit, and that energy that went through and went like a light, the fire above the people's heads, etc., etc. There's a lot of things in there about that awakening, but you have to know what you're looking to find it, And again, it's so much misinformation out there that people want to grasp a little corner of and run with it and create this big story about. And then they want the fantasy. Okay? They want the fantasy. If people actually knew what some of these Tibetan practices are, they'd be horrified. Because a lot of them, the monks and stuff, they get into these supposedly higher practices of some sorts, some types of tantra, and they just abuse the women for their own gain. People don't know what all the ins and outs are. Unfortunately, I do. I've lived there. Okay? I've lived there. I know what their practices are. I know what they're geared to do, what they do, and what they don't do. Why? Because I've walked the journey. I've done the Kundalini journey from start to finish. Again, you go through lifetimes and you don't lose the wisdom that you gained for your lifetimes. Like I said, made no mistake, I was a monk last lifetime. Okay, I remember it. Okay, like I said, was up in Dharamsala, and the one guy that's on the Kundalini video, one of the monks there, very well respected in that community, looked at me and he knew that I had been a monk. He did my charts, everything, and was surprised. Okay, so we got to be born somewhere. People, they want to think that in the Eastern, if you're born a woman, you've got a lower birth. Nonsense. And some of us choose to come back as women to blow that out of the water because it's crap. It's nonsense. It's like the story of Tara. She's sitting out there doing her practices, and the monks are going, and they come by and they go, oh, you're doing such nice practices. Maybe next lifetime you'll be fortunate enough to be born a male so you can progress. And she looks at him and says, I'm already at realization, and I vow to only come back in female form. Whenever I come back, it will be in female form. Why? Because it's bullshit. It has been so skewed throughout the centuries that somehow there's some difference in consciousness between male and female. Nonsense. The only thing is men have had more opportunity because they leave, they take off, they leave the kids with the wife to manage, the life to manage. They dump it on her and go. Does it mean they have any greater wisdom or potentiality than the woman does to move forward spiritually? Not only no, but hell no. If you read the Tripura Rahasya, who was the enlightened one? It was the wife, it was the woman, and she's trying to instruct the husband to move him forward. In Tantra, who's the higher in the Tantra? The female adept is the higher. So again, they take things out of context, spin it, and try to turn it into something it's not. Okay? Again, when you walk any of the paths, when you get to the end of the path, and you may pick a selection, I don't care if it's Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever vehicle you want to use to move forward. In the end point, when everything deconstructs, it blows all the religious dogmas out of the water. Because all of that is man-made for society, for the mental persuasion, etc. And so again, sometimes that's why you have reformers. People ask what type of path this is. Well, we have to give some sort of an answer, So we say it's Hindu or, but really, it's not. Because we don't do we don't do pujas, we don't do, any of that type of thing. This is more a meditation type of a path that really fits over. There are elements of Buddhism, there are elements of Christianity, there are elements of all of it in place. Because, it can't be defined and confined into one or the other. This is not a path based on things that somebody has to learn by rote or that type of thing. It's a path where people have to go within and walk the journey and find out the truth and what's the truth of things within their own lives. Okay? So it's a different type of a path, you know? So I was just seeing if I can find something that I wrote a long time ago. I think a lot of the things I put out very early maybe should be re-put out because they would really fit. They would really fit for a lot of people that are on the orientation to light site now. Well, maybe I don't have it here. I was looking for the one. Since they're more into a path of duality, the ones that were posted really early on in the journey might be beneficial for them at this moment. Yeah, I'm not finding it. Basically, they were asking before on what the path is. And I said, you know, whether people ask me if I'm Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, I'm all and none. I'm that unbound truth that runs like a thread through all, yet can be confined and constrained by none. It's basically what the writing was. So that's it. You can't define this path as one versus another. Just like we had somebody, what was their petty point? Oh, at the Rick Ross site, that I used the word Swami. Women are not Swami. There are no women Swami. Well, you know, women in this country used to be called actresses. Now they're actors. Maybe he wants to go argue with Hollywood as well. Tell the actresses that they cannot be actors, they have to remain actresses. You know, the point being, in consciousness, there is no male and female. Okay, so Swami, Swamini, Sadhu, Sadhvi, you know, take a chill pill and look at the reality rather than what can you pick at some little petty, insignificant nonsense, and that's all they can say. Okay, nonsense. So again, you know, when you're walking a path, and this is, I address people on any level. If they ask me a question in Christianity, I'm able to answer it. If they ask a question on Buddhism, I'm able to answer. If they ask a question on Hinduism, I answer it.
Right.
It's not locked into one. Yes, I'm a licensed minister. I've been a minister for a lot of years. I started out as a minister. I started out with the Bible, walked that path for a lot of years. Then went from that into the Buddhism, walked that for a lot of years, and then went into also the Hinduism, because the Kundalini. Okay? So again, you know, you've got to make the journey, and the journey, you know, things on the outward change. It's the same journey inwardly. Whether you become a nun and you surrender to Christ, or you're surrendering within the heart. Okay? Surrender is surrender is surrender. Whether you're a nun or you're surrendering to Christ, you're still surrendering into the heart. Okay? You still have to surrender into the heart. Okay? You still have to lay your life down in some way, shape, or form and turn it over to God. It's the path. Sorry. I don't care whether you're doing it through Hinduism, the wearing the mask of the Hinduism, you're wearing the mask and the trappings of Buddhism, you're wearing the mask and the trappings of Christianity. It's the same basic type of a path internally. It's just the scenery's different along the way. That's all. That's all I can say. Different scenery for Hinduism, different scenery for Buddhism, different scenery for Christianity. But it's the same internal journey in the end. For any that are genuinely wanting to walk, it's a solitary journey. You can't do it in a group. We're not all holding hands and going there. You don't all get into the Holy of Holies holding hands. If you remember, in the Jewish tradition, when they had the Holy of Holies and the high priests had to go in there, it's a dangerous thing. They would have to, when they would go into the Holy of Holies, they would tie a rope around them. So if they went in there and did something wrong and they died, they could pull the body out. Was everybody running in there? No. Okay. They didn't all go holding hands, skipping into the Holy of Holies together. You know, it says any man that sees the face of God will die. Why? Because you die to that former life. You die to that consciousness. You die to that. And the eyes are open and then the scales fall and one sees clearly. It's a lot of things that, you know, but people, they don't know how to, they haven't walked the journey. They don't know what it's talking about. Anyway, so we'll close this out at this. But again, it doesn't matter if you're making the journey through Buddhist, through Hindu, through Christian. They can all be valid. You've just got to understand the tradition and what the journey is and what it's not. Not everybody is ready to walk the journey of a monk. You know, that type of in-depth journey is not for everyone. There's a difference between, and this path is more like going into the monastery, is what it was constructed for. It's a monastery, but you're doing it, you know, in the midst of your daily living. That's what the construction was for this path. It's for those that have a very deep commitment. It's like, you know, it's like some places you can't be a wandering monk. You can't be a wandering monk in this country. You have to be a karma yogi. You continue working, but doesn't mean that your attention cannot be on that journey fully. Okay, there's a different way to walk it, a different way to do it. But most people that come, they want to have more of the churchiology. You go there Sundays, you hear a nice sermon, and then you go live your life, whatever. I just want to hear a nice sermon that's going to buoy me up, that I can pick and choose little tidbits out of, that are going to make me happy for the week until I come and hear the next sermon. So we have a lot of people, they don't want to be in a monastery, a contemplative order. They want to be in church with the hallelujahs. They want to be in the holy roller crowd. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. Let's go dance down the aisles. You know, we'll go dance down the aisles and then go play the rest of the week. So it's a vast difference, and this is what I'm trying to get people to understand, people that come here and get their nose out of joint, they want the hallelujah crowd. They want to come in and hear a nice little sermon, but I don't want to go any deeper than that. I'm saying I want more depth than that, but I don't want any deeper than that. I want you to give me a nice little sermon that I can take away and feel good about for the next week. But when they find out they're in a place that's more like, you're in the order, or you're in the, contemplative monastery, and this is the direction that's given, that blows it all out of the water. Because it's vastly different when you go into a monastery and the Mother Superior or Father Superior is there to give you those things to break down that ego, versus in the regular churches, which is there to fluff up ego. Can we see the divide here? We have a major divide in these two types of things. Nominal Christianity, nominal Buddhism is for the masses. And most people coming want what's watered down for the masses. They don't want the hard-hitting, contemplative order. They don't want the hard-hitting karma yogi type of thing. They don't want that hard-hitting type of path that is there to pull away at the supports of ego. So consequently, you get people that come and they get their nose out of joint because they hear something that pushes a button, and now you're a horrible, egregious, abusive guru. Nonsense. Nonsense. They have not understood what this path is about from day one, even though they've been told what it's about. They've been given things to read, what it's about, what it is and what it is not, yet they want to try to come in and define it and make it be their way. Like the Burger King drive-thru, they're going to order it up their way, and when they find out they can't, then they get pissy and upset and angry. So again, I'm putting this video out. If you want the nominal Christian path, the nominal Buddhist, the nominal, and this is why here we don't do, the things like pujas and this and that and stuff, because all the pujas, etc., they're asking, I want a son, I want this, I want that, I'm doing it for my good health, I'm doing it good for this, I'm doing it for that, like they're buying it. It's not this path. We're not selling that. We don't sell that. We don't have pujaris here that are selling that, okay? It's not happening. Okay? No, this is the internal journey like the yogis make that are out in the caves. That's what this path is was built up to do. That you can be that yogi that does his practice in the cave, but yet you have to do it in the midst of society, in the midst of your daily life. Because it doesn't do any good to be in a cave meditating for 20 years and then have to come back into society. Better to do it while you're in the midst of society. Then you know it's firm. Okay? Does that not make sense, people? So again, but if we have people and they want to be that nominal Christian and they want a sermon, I can give that sermon. I have no problem with that. Maybe I need to start putting out that type of sermon once a week that can aid people with that type of a walk, because that's what 99.9% of the people are looking for. Really, genuinely. Okay. So we will leave it at that. Maybe I will pull out some of the old writings that were done at the, really early on in the journey before realization, but they are actually could be beneficial for people that want the more nominal type of a journey. They would be beneficial for those type of people because they do not want the really hard-hitting things that are only really for those that are internally monks for that time that are willing and ready to make that type of a journey. Namaste.